Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks out there. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. Yeah, I happen to be your host. This week we are talking about alchemy. Yeah, everything related to alchemy. Little bits and pieces to do with herbalism and apothecaries, and the whole idea of tabletop RPG concepts, considering using basically generalized alchemical formulas. Now, we talk about these things all week long, so please tune into the show yesterday for Monster Monday. Of course, today is Discord Tuesday, where we talk about tabletop RPG mechanics, generally about Dungeons and Dragons, but it can be quite agnostic based on the concepts we talk about. And also, later on this week, we will have World Building Wednesday, which is going to, I think, is going to be pretty fun. Third Pillar Thursday, which is about the third pillar of exploration, and then, of course, Future Friday. Now, just remember that this show is simulcast on 3 platforms. You can join over on Twitch. I would love to have you over there. YouTube, and of course, our Discord server, both audio and visually, which reminds me, I must link in there. All right, so let's get into some. I like to start off our discussions with a base that we can begin with. I don't often do that, but I think we should, and then we will move on from there. So today we're going to talk about the alchemy and the alchemist, as in player characters playing an alchemist, and start from a general background. Now, because we're going to talk about mechanics, we are essentially trying to find the scale in the middle between 2 extremes. Now, one extreme we thought of when it comes to playing and designing an alchemist for a world is the ultimate hand wave, which is essentially saying that we're not going to go into how a player character is able to acquire the concoctions they have. We're just going to assume that they have the equipment and materials they need to create the thing, essentially like Dungeons and Dragons during, like, say, a short or long rest, right? And in many ways, that is the ultimate hand wave. Title without the title without being the thing, right? It's like you could replace the word with pretty much any testing. You could be replacing the word with pretty much anything, and you wouldn't change too many aspects of the character. Sorry about the audio. I try casting this show, which I'm surprised Discord seems to be having the audio. But Twitch tends to be pretty good as well. Discord, I believe, is the most stable. And then we also have YouTube. YouTube has been breaking up a little bit. And I think that's just a bandwidth issue. But the idea here is that on one extreme, despite the title of alchemist, we are going to, doesn't matter, alchemist, warlock, wizard, cleric, druid, doesn't matter, during some sort of rest or break in between the action, we're going to assume the character has spent some time doing the thing to get the thing. Now, there are many tables that are going to use this method, but I think it's a disservice to the character type and concept. But now there's the other extreme, okay? And as was presented yesterday, and of course it's still in the Discord, 349 different types of alchemical ingredients to combine together to create your various alchemical concoctions, and that's a little bit overboard. And as was suggested, they're even adding more. Now, I think going that far into taking the time, usually many times extended amount of times, to take these materials and combine them together. How rare are they? How stable are they when you have them individually? What happens when you combine them together? the crafting issue, right? We're going to confront the crafting issue where while crafting is a thing within novels and maybe hand waved away inside of television shows and movies, I'm looking at you, various criminal CSI style shows where you see people using concoctions to come up with evidence and such. It doesn't make for a lot of adventure, and it also doesn't seem to include a lot of the other player characters. A lot of times when you see those kind of things happening, they're done through montage because pretty much a lot of that stuff is boring. So where do we fit in the middle? Now, I do want to state that yeah, sorry about the audio, guys. And I try to I'm listening to myself slightly. I do have a slight echo in my ears, and I'm not getting it, but maybe that's just because I'm, despite it being live, I'm broadcasting to myself. So yeah. Now, I will say that the sometimes we default to the alchemist as basically being the bomb thrower, right? I'm going to throw something explosive, fiery, or acidic, and pretty much stop there. But we do have spell-like capabilities, and I believe the current, having perused the current 5th edition alchemist subclass through the artificer or artificer, there, you can pick certain spell-like abilities to mimic those things created from alchemical processes. Now, remember, Dungeons and Dragons has always used potions primarily, and then other things like elixirs or whatnot. But there are far more chemical styled compounds than plain old liquids, right? I mean, we have gases, we have unstable elements. I'm looking at you, not just acidic things, but things that boil over, things that are radioactive, solid materials, powders, and cakes, and heck, even extremely solid materials, and also the transformative process that happens when you combine more than one of them. Now, but how do we mechanically represent this? So there are some ways. I'm with you there. Red dice, like cake, and none of that chintzy icing on the top, man. I gotta have some icing in the middle too. You better layer that icing in that cake. But yesterday, unfortunately, off mic and off camera. But how do we want to mechanically represent an alchemist both gathering and or using their concoctions? Now, before we start gathering, one of the beautiful problems for an alchemist is that is not exactly the same for other character classes, is this idea. Debbie is like, just don't serve any of that yellow cake. I think is that sulfur? Is that urine? Here, you taste it. Oh, sure. Oh, you're right. It does taste like urine. Hey, you taste it. Yeah. Yeah, there was a Saturday Night Live skit about that. Detectives going to a crime scene and everybody tasting everything, using their pencils to poke stuff. It was pretty nasty. It was great. So this idea of one thing that separates the alchemist from the other classic Dungeons and Dragons character types is the idea that they have something on their body that they can give to other people, place in certain locations, throw, spill, pour, set up as traps that are one-offs that we would have to deal with in a mechanical sense, narrative sense. So, for example, someone has a thanks, guys. Yeah, yellow cake is uranium. Oh, that is right. Oh, that you are very correct, man. That's an old that not old. It is a. I forgot that yellow. That is the term used for uranium. Oh man, and I should have known that because they mentioned it in the Chernobyl series most recently, which is a pretty devastatingly lethal and dangerous and depressing version of, I suppose, where alchemy could go. But yeah, so as game masters, we're going to have to deal with the fact that if we allow players to carry around, I don't know, 15 a bandolier of like 15 different things, can they give it to the fighter in the group to be used later on? Can they place it on a slightly open door, so if someone opens up the door, it falls off the top of the door ledge and it spills down in front of them? Like, are we going to accept that? My answer to that would be yes, but we might want to just think about it just a little bit to find out about the balance issues and such. The other issue with alchemists, which I don't believe is a problem, that's why I call it a beautiful problem, is how will the alchemists fit into the group? We defaulted to the alchemist being a very good support buff style character, meaning that they can give people some of their concoctions for use for themselves. Maybe those concoctions cause a physical enhancement. We're looking at you, Invisible Man, and Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, kind of thing, where there's a transformative element to it, not just healing, but increased strength or speed, invisibility, polymorphing. The I drink the potion and I get my skin turns hard as steel or bronze or something, right? Those kind of things, as well as handing over some of those concoctions to, say, the sneaky members of the groups. The rogue, is able to pour the material down to cover their tracks, or pour a line of acid or something to, cut a line in rock or what have you, or absolutely the whole gamut of transformation styled spell-like capabilities, those kind of things, used to create pentagrams or defensive locations, so you're inside of the circle and you can pour the materials around, and of course also affecting the battlefield as well, so creating like clouds of fog or fire, or throw the thing and it turns, I don't know, it fills the whole cavern with thick ice or something like that. So you can have that effect. But now we're going to let's talk about the gathering, the recording, how we're going to gather those materials and recording them for our player characters. So one method mechanically is to not name anything at all. That this just becomes a numerical value, right? We're going to go out into the dark woods, and the player character is like, great, I'm going to collect some herbs and spices. Maybe that's the wrong thing. I have a list of recipes, and I'm going to go search for what I need to enhance my concoctions. I want some materials, and you could just make it in very numerical, right? Oh, make a skill roll. Great, you find 3 resources. All right, I put them on my character sheet. I now have 10 resources or something. Yeah, Red Dice Star says, I suppose if you can put your spells into potions materials, there need to be some sort of limit on them, like a shelf life. Yeah, we're getting. I agree with you on that. I think side effects are perfect for alchemists, meaning that they may not be able to find what they're looking for. The locations of the materials they're looking for might be in remote locations. Something might be very common to find, like, I don't know, dandelions or something, but to process them might require some external element, like extreme heat, cold, electricity, acid. Maybe you need a very common thing, but you must combine it with something that's very uncommon. For example, on listed in our Discord, if you just scroll up above, are like 14 types of water. Running water, water from snow, water taken during high noon, water from a spring, water from an ocean, water from at least 100 steps deep. Salt water, brackish water. Like there were so many different types, and even the elements that you get don't necessarily need to correspond to the periodic table in your world, right? It doesn't need to be sodium and phosphorus and iron and copper. It could be eye of newt, as was pointed out by Dead Man yesterday. Like, poor newts. Although I guess you could barbecue them after you take their eyes out. But anyway, it could be eye of newt, or what was the other one? An eye from a convicted murderer. It could be a tear, dropped for, a tear of sadness for the death of a tyrant or something. Like, you could have a time and space might be a requirement for the materials you gather as well. I'm going to gather posies from a battlefield where at least 1,000 people have died or something of that nature. Ooh, legally blonde. Hey, blonde. Jesus. Um, anyway, blind. What's going on there? Thank you. Yeah, a tear from a demon. Right. How rare would that be? And how would you? First of all, how would you know they were crying over anything, and you being in their presence for it to happen, and whether you artificially created it or there's a situation where they are crying, maybe you shouldn't be witnessing this as well. I mean, that pit fiend might be like, oh, I'm so sad I didn't destroy the earth. My feelings are hurt, stupid paladins. I don't know. But yeah, Deadman says the Star Wars Galaxies MMO game had chiefs and alchemists that could make meals and concoctions to buff a person. Oh, I didn't know that, but awesome. Chefs, like chefs style alchemists. I I could I could see. I suppose a chef is an alchemist. So yeah, I didn't really think about that, but thank you very much for bringing that up. Yeah, I think a chef is an alchemist by putting certain things together in a certain order with particular temperatures, time. There we go with time and energy and resources, right? Dead Man says you can always use usage die for ingredients. Yep, like in the Black Hack, you have D6 ingredients for whatever dice. Each time you you roll the dice. If you get if you get a one, the die gets stepped down. When you have a D4, when you're on a D4, you get a one, you're out. I like the idea of the usage die, like, because add a randomizer in it. Now, some would balk at the idea that why would I not know I'm out of something? But I like the tension generator from that because everyone likes to look at dice because they're the randomizer. I like the idea of a usage die. Again, like, mechanically speaking, you could just count 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And hey, you're in the dark woods. You can only gather 3 3 materials. That's pretty simple. If you want to go with the usage die as well, it's possible you could have I'm gonna call this a side effect die, where the quality of the materials maybe increases or decreases a die that you have. So very good quality materials, you roll a D12, and if you roll a 1, you have a side effect. Whereas if you're on the run and you didn't really have a chance to make them pure or stable or whatever, maybe you roll a D6 or D4, and if you roll a 1, you get like some kind of side effect. And side effects could be anything from I don't know, the materials are inert to they cause a side effect you weren't expecting. I suppose you could go very gonzo with like using something you already have, like the chaos sorcerer, chaos blooded sorcerer, or you can make up your own. Basically, look up the periodic table and look up a lot of things in there, like, oh, you start a phosphorus fire that can't be put out by water, or it causes someone's flesh to floof off, or you drink down a concoction and it causes you to go mute, or turns your skin purple, or it releases a smelly fume 10 times worse than a skunk or something. Like, you could have I'm sure you could come up with an easy D20 or even a D100 table, getting progressively worse and worse as you go along. You pass out, you fall unconscious, person goes blind, whatever. You throw the concoction and it doesn't explode as needed, but exactly 1 hour later, it will finally, the chemical compounds will mix together, or you have the compound, it's inert, but you must mix it with yet another one of your things, basically wasting a slot or something like that, right? Like, sure, it'll go off, but you need to mix it with another stimulant to really enact it or something. That's a possibility as well. Yeah. Legally Blind says a bartender is an alchemist. Hell yeah, getting you wasted. But yes, a bartender is an alchemist, knowing which percentages of things, which ratio of materials to put together to create something that is viable to drink. I suppose. I'm with you on that. Even even the medical profession has a lot of alchemical natures to it. Which kind of medicines work together to do a thing, or what order to give someone certain types of pharmaceuticals to achieve a particular reaction. We hear about this, like putting someone in a temporary coma helps them, I don't know, relieve pressure on the brain or something, or you what's the new stuff, there's a material you can pour into an open wound that will temporarily seal it so that this person can, get some help later on or whatnot. So yeah, there are many people. Red Dice says, can a demon even cry? Perhaps the tear of a demon is a prosaic description of something else, like a gemstone, like a. I could see that. Maybe maybe demons excrete what essentially would be their goodness out of them, so that other demons or fiends or devils or something don't see it. Or maybe it's like a wound. Maybe they carve it out of their flesh with a blade because the tumors grow under their skin, because they remember who they used to be when they were alive. Because remember, fiends, many of them come from the living world. They are, what is it? They are ripped apart and transformed through bits and pieces in the abyss, and they are converted from human beings that have moved up in the nine hells as devils. So they could be like tumors, remembering their past life. Like, I shouldn't be doing this. Tumor growth. Ooh, I'm having good thoughts. I'm watching butterflies and listening to classical music or something. Tumor growth. Like, you know. All right. Now, along with the one other way we can mechanically represent gathering materials is to have, I hope you guys can follow me with this, to have a list of not too many materials, and those materials could be liquids, gases, solids, or what have you, or something a little more arcane. Again, tear of a demon. Gathering the insult of the thrown insult of a pious man, or what was another one? Placenta or afterbirth. Weird. Yeah, you know what I mean. Sexual excrement of sorts. Those kind of things. Gathering things that are far more in a fantastical realm, but having a limited number of those, and then establishing with each of them a particular trait. Like, for example, if you gather lava stones, that deals with heat. If you gather ice from the cold north, it deals with frost, right? And kind of strange, but it would be kind of cool to walk around with the ice cube in your pouch, even though you're in the summer heat or something, right? Like, that could just be a side effect of being an alchemist. And then how you combine those things together could have another trait. So I'm going to use my lava stone for fire, and then I'm going to place it in a jar of water. So the water is my aquatic nature, the lava stone is my fire. I'm going to use that to make steam. So we're going to make a big old fog cloud, right? Whereas I'm going to hand my lava stone over to the warrior, and the warrior can throw it, and it explodes into a big ball of fire or something. I mean, a little confusing, but you can establish traits on things that people gather the player character gathers, and then extrapolate from that what effects that they generate. And of course you have limitations, right? If they're a third level character, they only have access to certain numbers of spells, but it would almost be as if the player character is making their own spell components rather than using the ones in the book. Although, as I brought up yesterday, wizards already have spell components, but a lot of us hand wave that away, right? We often don't see wizards needing to search for those components themselves. Uh, yeah, Red Dice Diaries goes on to say, in my Minderlands game, trolls and ogres, 8 gemstone. Oh yeah, 8 gemstones to aid their digestion. Hence, my players often often saying, "We need to get some of those troll butt diamonds." Yeah, I don't know who gets volunteered to wear the the latex gloves to have to go through the troll dookie. But if the troll dookie's kind of moist, I suppose you could wash it off. But yeah, but then when the troll looks at you from around the corner, it's like, dude, that's sick. Like, really? Like, I'm not even going to attack you. That's foul. And Gnome looks up like, what? I don't get it. What? Legally Blind says, had a had a botched alchemist fire that had a healing effect on the monster. Ooh, see, I I like the idea of the alchemist being the one who basically creates their own side effects, um, on purpose or by accident. Now it depends on how, again, gonzo you want to go with it. If you want to get a little bit more realistic and gritty, most side effects are pretty dangerous. I think it's, what is it, combining bleach and ammonia can create a poisonous gas or something like that and knock you out or whatever. Um, there are some things that are unstable. You could have them in your glass jars in your bandolier on your player character, and one of them bursts open, and you suffer whatever good and or bad effects happen when they break open. Maybe it's not as potent as you thought it would be when you try to, I don't know, have the creature breathe in the knockout gas that you put under their nose, or maybe the truth serum that you were supposed to get them to swallow doesn't work in the way that you intended, and they do nothing but say lies that you believe or something. Like, I suppose you could have something of that nature as well. Um, but we would have. Here's the other issue that we talked about yesterday, and that is, while it's great that a player character says, "Hey, I want to be alchemist," right? Not, I want to be capital A alchemist. When that player wanders off on their own, what happens at the table, right? Are we agreeing that that player gets to have their own particular spotlight? Is that player not part of the game for a period of time while the other players do something? Or are we going to connive a way so that the alchemist is part and parcel of the game system that we're playing, right? Meaning, like, um, other character classes in Dungeons and Dragons do have downtime activities. Clerics going to the local churches or whatever it's called in your world, paladins seeking some absolution, wizards reading their book and maybe going to a library, bards collecting, collecting gossip and rumors, learning other musical traits or learning poetry from some others. Like, if we accept that other player characters have downtime, then maybe the alchemist does as well. But if we're going to really make them the alchemist, I think alchemy automatically creates both social and exploration elements in your world that we should at least consider. Right, the exploration part of that is, are we exploring an urban region and looking for things in an urban city, something as small as a village all the way up to a major metropolitan area, that you can either buy these things or trade for them, or find professionals that are as skilled in it as you are, or a sage that does nothing but have these powders and liquids and things, boiling in tubes in some kind of laboratory deep underground, and you need to find a connection to get there. And do you need to trade your recipes with them, or your I mean, it can present itself to, now you could hand wave this away again, giving it some kind of gold piece value, and you just pick up whatever you need. But on the other hand, Deadman puts into the Discord, the equivalent exchange has become a trope. Wow. The equivalent exchange trope as used in popular culture. Power has consistency. Power serves a function. Power always comes with a price. Yeah. And is that a picture of gun fu? Anyway, so the idea would be that if you're in an urban area and you want to accomplish gathering your materials, you must have an equal and opposite value to give to the others who are also in the same profession, right? And visiting the herbalist or local apothecary is not only just an exploration of a city, but is also social elements to it. Do they want to deal with you? Are they fair about their dealings? Are they truthful about the effects of the materials they have? Is the local oracle or witch doctor or shaman that's in the city, are they true to what they are, or are they a faker? That kind of thing. Yep, Tesla Ranger says the first law of thermodynamics: you can't get something for nothing. Yeah. Oh, GNU. What's up there? Gennaro. Oh man, what's up? Good morning, DJ. It's been a while. Good to be in. I'm a big fan of slimes and oozes as components. Makes for a great gathering quest. Yeah. Not only that, but those slimes and oozes and jellies and stuff might be the side effects of what someone has done, either immediately or maybe given some time later on, right? And the player character that goes down in the deep dungeon of the urban major metropolitan city with the oozes and slimes and barrels that the old halfling has down there, and it's like, you can get this for a price, which also comes to the idea of the social interaction as well. Will somebody tell someone else that you gathered those materials? Are there other people watching you gather your things? Maybe there are factions that want you to work for them, and you're like, I don't have a foot in this race for you guys, so whatever. And they look at you like, oh, you might be the proverbial modern day bomb maker, and everyone wants you to either work for them, or they want to arrest you, or they're watching you because they're waiting for you to do something illicit, which of course, if you're playing an alchemist, you would be. Yeah, maybe that way. Deadman says to acquire the ability to perform something, induce motion or bring change, to bring something into existence, grant a wish, heal a loved one, or even bring someone back to life, someone must give up another thing of equal value. This trope has a simple, dramatic purpose. It prevents the pitfalls of a typical story breaker power by adding laws and the elements of choice and sacrifice. Yep, one of Brandon Sanderson's laws, that it is not the power that is interesting, but the limitations that come with the use of that power. So if bringing somebody back to life requires you to kill someone, or heck, if you're an alchemist, maybe you need to, I don't know, what did we bring up before? The different elements that make up a human being, and getting those components together that make up a human being, all the nickel and the iron and the sulfur and the other trace elements and the water and the oxygen, and bring it all together. And then, of course, maybe needing another person to, I don't know, reskin the soul of the person who's dead so that the other person could come back or take their place or something. I suppose in many ways necromancy is a dark type of alchemy as well, it could be referred to. Yeah, now Red Dice says, regarding the side effects, how about the idea from Full Metal Alchemist, where if you create something, then you have to give something in an equal exchange principle? I like the idea of a downtime system. So instead of having X amount of spells you can use, each downtime you can create a number of items. That'd be cool. I like the idea of that, but we want to ensure that the player's not stealing the spotlight, so that the other players are involved in it. So I could see Like if you're out in the wilderness, that I don't know whatever you're trying to get is on the side of a cliff and you need someone to climb up to it, or gathering this material requires you to move very heavy boulders. So the strong character has to be involved in it. Like maybe whatever you're trying to create requires more than one person to be involved in its application. Like, the alchemist is like, okay, I need you to pour this into here, but you must count to 20 as you pour the material into this other thing, and it will be bubbling, so you don't want to be close to it. So you got to use this long metal pole to pour this dangerous liquid into this very reactive mineral or something like that. Like I don't know. Again, pulling it out of my ass, but getting the other players involved in the collection of a thing. Hey, I need strong character to carry this big barrel of stuff because I'm going to have to boil it down to its pure essence or something. That kind of thing. Legally Blind says, use Mage Hand to uncork the alchemist fire on the enemies. Bandolier, yeah. Of course, someone else could do that to you, right? And then it depends on if we, how sensitive are we making a thing, right? In 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, it's accepted that basically if you're carrying an item, there's no damage that's going to happen to it, unless specified by a particular like encounter or monster. Unless we've all decided that when, I don't know, you're in the midst of a dragon's breath, that we're going to roll saving throws for the items that you're carrying. I'm looking at you, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, right? Are we going to accept that? Sure, we can. If we, session 0, are we doing this thing? Great. That means the alchemist, hey, if you fall down in a pit, you might lose some of your concoctions there hanging on your bandolier. Yeah. Yep. Red Dice says could be a good source for adventures or quests. Having an alchemist send you out to gather rare ingredients, and of course, there is like I mentioned yesterday, there's the economy of resources. So, sure, I don't know, sulfur or bat guano is useful for your spell effects, but what if someone else knows that and they are hoarding those materials from you? Does that require you to pay an exorbitant price, or wheel and deal, or make a connection, or steal it, or sabotage it, or what the location, whatever the case may be? Other people may try to hoard those materials, creating its own economy. And when I say economy, it could be a monetary economy. It could be economy amongst a select group of people, meaning like in our world, I know nothing about the medical field, but I know that within the medical field, like many other fields of professionalism, they themselves have their own economy with each other. It's like a reputation economy, or which hospital do you work for? Do you have a private practice? What is your bedside manner? And then that becomes the economy in, a brand new drug helps with migraines. I want access to that drug. And the individuals that, buy and sell and trade those very drugs. Remember, there are people whose only job are to go to doctors to sell them new medical equipment and drug prescriptions. And here's some free samples, but you're gonna have to pay for the rest of them. I suppose drug dealers are alchemists. I mean, yeah, drug dealers and drug lords are a type of illegal alchemist, allowing people to achieve a particular kind of result from those drugs, especially if those drugs are very transformative. Like maybe your local group of trolls out in the woods aren't necessarily trolls at all, but victims of addiction. Many of in AD&D, the origins of a lot of your chimeric creatures. I'm looking at you, owlbear and manticore and naga and harpy and the rest of them. Yes, a lot of them are taken from mythology, but because we have to accept that there's basically a whole group of them. You go, well, the gelatinous cube came about because of an experiment with a wizard, right? How many times have we seen that? So alchemists might be, I could see player characters being a player character being an alchemist, again, being an enforcer against other alchemists, or the other way around. Maybe there are people going after the player characters. Yeah, guano of a werebat, just to raise the challenge. They're legally blind. Jesus, if I stop calling, I'm going to call you Dirker. That's what I'm going to call you, the blind Dirk. That sounds kind of a cool thing. Anyway, yeah, I mean, gathering the fur from a bear, sure. Gathering the fur from a manticore, little tougher there. Gathering the fur from the hindquarters of a griffin, you know, I sure. Now, we know that there is a bit of a trope with player characters killing things and then harnessing the things from the dead thing they've killed. I'm going to take the spikes from Manticore. I'm going to take the skin from the dragon. I want to get the poison from the giant poisonous cobra. That those might be one-offs, or maybe even allow players to pick and choose different types of spell-like effects based on what they've gathered. So guano from a werebat might give them access to one thing, whereas getting the venom from a giant snake might give them access to something else. I don't know. And of course, we have player characters who want to do that, and they're not alchemists, so why not? Yeah, Walter White from Breaking Bad. The ultimate drug lord alchemist. Yeah, that's why it's blue. GNU says there are also holy rites that may involve burning incense or blessed concoctions that induce a prophetic trance. All kinds of stuff could be in there. I agree with you. Alchemy doesn't need to be potions, right? It doesn't need to be some kind of liquid that has some reactive effect. It could be, like you said, incense or an effervescent. Um, uh, Maybe certain concoctions don't work unless under certain conditions, like an equinox, high noon, midnight, 100 paces underneath the earth, only under a full moon, or what have you, and then of course we're going to move into sacrifices, animal sacrifices, or sacrifices of important things, like, well, of course this wouldn't be medieval, but like a photograph of a loved one and burning away the memory you've had of your loved one or something. Like, it might even be a sacrifice of like memories or knowledge, or even age, right? Every time you do this thing or drink this potion or something, you age an extra 1d10 years or whatnot, which for elves, not too much of a big deal. For half orcs or human beings, yeah, you might not want to do that. GNU says, goes on to say, sex holy water could have all sorts of effects or alchemical potential. Yeah, especially if you're creating a world in which alchemy is part of the world, it runs the world. Yeah, like, oh wow, that's different. Wow. Okay, all right. Maybe I will do that. Yeah. Most call me a lurker. You're really weird. Yeah, I mean, the idea that there is lots of players like to be special snowflakes, right? Like, I'm the only alchemist ever. But if we accept the fact that there's one alchemist, we have to accept the fact that alchemy exists in the world itself. So of course, like GNU says, a sex holy water might be something else that they drink and transform, or gives them some kind of great special abilities or something. I mean, heck, you could even mimic the effects of player character abilities, right? Like, I'm a 0 level human, but when I drink this concoction, I turn into a 12th level barbarian, right? Why not? Where creatures could come about through that. We talked about the Invisible Man and Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde are Victorian era examples, or neo-Victorian examples of alchemy having an effect on the physical world and such. Yep. Yeah, Rickards goes on a sneak peek for Thursday and Friday. Let me take a look at this. The Alchemist, Rickard's version of the Alchemist, alchemical concoctions per alchemist level, and dissolutions known. See, I love words have power, and I love the, you know, changing it from spell slot to something else, creating elixirs and reagents and all that kind of business. I love it. Master Brewer, 20th level. I'm loving that, Rickard. Hell yeah, hell yeah. Now, the something else that can be a mechanical effect could also have to do with, I suppose this really deals with world building, but if you're going to walk around with all these chemicals and things, there are other things in the world that may or may not like you doing such a thing, meaning that there might be animals or beasties that can smell such a thing. There may be individuals who are skilled in tracking those things down, like a league of enforcers, whose only job, much like here in the States, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. There may be a crew of people whose only job is to excise the world of these oozes and jellies and stuff that seem to be cropping up everywhere. Hold on, I've got a cat who's has a little mousy. Come on, kitty. Yeah, come on. I don't know if you guys can hear her. There's also, I mean, like GNU brings up a sex holy water. They might be drinking, I don't know, wearing around their neck a little vial of like black pudding or gray ooze or some kind of pudding or jelly or whatever the case might be. And whenever they give of themselves to Snurfev Blue or I don't remember the name of the abyssal ooze fiend or something like that. They drink it down in their body. They do the chest burst and their eyes burst out of their head, and the black ooze drips out of their ears as their body is consumed by it, and they spill all over the populace or something. I like that because I just like the idea of a bunch of people in bleached white robes disrobing, naked, drinking down vials of something that causes people to panic in the town square and whatnot. Yeah, Rickers. Yeah, sneak peek of the Alchemist class table in Discord. I'm like that. The blind lurker says, "Hi, I'm Mary Sue Snowflake. How are you doing? I'm good. I'm good." Yeah. GNU says a huge underground slime lake under the cathedral. Yeah. Ooh, semi sentient. Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. Suicide pact people that are like, yeah, we're going to take down in their own minds, they're like, we're going to transform society because we should all be as one, living together with a big old smile on the face and drinking down the poison Kool-Aid and going like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Pop. Yep. Cathedral of Ooze. Yeah, Dead Man says, like Isaac from Vagrant Queen with his liquor flask. Yeah. Yep, yeah, you can hear like, meow, give me attention. I need to be live streamed, kitty. Yeah, come on. I don't know. Anyway, sorry, guys. Harry Potter's Devours made to track one thing in the world. Yeah. I'm I don't know. I love myself some Displacer Beasts because I mean, hell, they're six-legged, tentacled panthers. I love the idea of them tracking things down, or maybe devil dogs or something like that in the game. Blink dogs, even. Red Dice Diary says, I'm having flashbacks of the River of Slime and Ghostbusters 2. Yeah, nasty. And we don't know, especially in a world where maybe because we talk about mechanics, right? The player character may need to search out like a special library. Well, a special library that has recipes in it, a special lab that is on a far distant island or up in the mountains, or hidden away in a valley, in a desert or something like that, in blasted lands or whatever, or finding the lab, making connections with them. And of course you have to have your proverbial labs have to be abandoned because an accident happened and the player characters need to investigate it, and of course the alchemist needs to go along to find out what happened. So I could see when it comes to like character class and character function, of trying to balance the idea of the player character should have the ability to get some things pretty commonly, right? Like salts. Yesterday I brought up salt or milk or sand or what have you. And then there should be some things that are middle ground, like they're difficult to get, but not lethal to get. So you might have to travel somewhere far or spend a lot of extra money, or again, the exchange economy trope where, hey, I have to give a promise or give over one of my recipes or help with the distillation of a very dangerous chemical in order to perform a service, in order to get something back that I need. And then of course you have your extremely rare, extremely dangerous, and or extremely hard to process materials, right? Something could be very easy to get, meaning, I don't know, diamonds coming out of the earth, but very hard to process, i.e. carving a diamond for the, you need to powder a diamond for this effect. And you're like, powder a diamond? How the hell am I going to do that, right? Tear from a demon. It's like, I don't know if I could just go up and tap a demon on the shoulder, but okay, I'm going to try, right? So I think a blending of those three types is pretty good. And of course, gathering things out in the wild. Am I going to gather these materials from creatures I've slain, or gathering water from an oasis in the desolate desert or something? Getting a getting a scoop of golden snow. Don't taste it. A scoop of golden yellow snow for your concoctions or something, or making a deal with a incubus or a succubus for unmentionables, right? Yeah, I don't know. Red Dice says, out of interest, I wonder what would happen if you threw a potion bottle into an acidic ooze as it dissolves the bottle and the potion dispersed into it. I don't know. Would the ooze suffer or benefit from the effects of the potion itself? I don't know. I like that. I like it a lot. Hey, did you just throw an invisibility potion into the black pudding? And you're like, maybe? I don't know. So yeah, why the hell not? Or if you've created your D100 side effects table, pick up those percentiles. Yep, pick up those percentile dice and let's roll for it. Yeah, I don't think that's the lemon. Yeah, the ooze is just like, I've gained sentience now, and I'm walking on two legs like you bipeds, and everyone's just like, oh god, is this a gray ooze trying to wear clothing? This isn't good. This isn't good at all. Yeah, new ooze evolution. Yeah, GNU. I don't think this is a good path that we're going down. But I will say that the downtime portion of creating these concoctions, I suppose one, and I know this is a cheat there, Rickard, but one way to cheat the system would be the player character works for an alchemical faction. So much like James Bond going to Q to get his like watch and explosive ink pen and remote control high performance car. Maybe the things are brought to a central location, and then there are others whose only job is to make the concoctions that the player character then exchanges their empties for full ones. It's a little it's very hand wavy unless the player has some involvement in it. Like, oh, you're back from your adventures. Here, we need you to come over here for an hour to help us mix the fibbly flu with the flippity flop before it explodes and catches fire and turns us all to stone. So we're gonna need your help. And you're like, okay, guys, you guys go to the tavern, you go to the blacksmith, you go to your local altar or something and pray. I'm gonna go over here and pour the fibbly flu, right? And then I suppose you could do something like that as well, that to build in is more world building, but for World Building Wednesday, but you could build in like you're an alchemist, but you're part of an alchemist faction, as opposed to the special the special snowflake, right? Where it's only me. I carry, I don't know, an erector set lab that I open up when I'm in a campgrounds or something. I don't know. Red Dice says, if you knew how long the ooze took to dissolve it, you could use them as timers. Yeah, I mean, especially if it's like you know what the effect is going to be, but you don't know how long the effect will take. But you're sure that if you throw it into the ooze, once it dissolves the outer shell of the bottle or container or something you have, I'd like that. I love timed effects. I love tension builders. You guys know I love that. And the idea that the alchemist could, again, open up a door, a hands width basically, and put the bottle at the top of the door and wait for somebody to open it up and have it explode. I'm like, hell yeah, you can do that. Why? That's because that's what your class does, right? Maybe it's not casting a spell, but it is doing it's almost like a trap maker as well. I'm a chef, bartender, and trap maker. Helping your other allies out. Like, hey, fighter, take these 2 bottles with you. You might need to quaff them down in your battle. And of course, the fighter's like, sure, I can take this. I wonder what effect it'll have. Open up one bottle. There's a lightning bolt on the side. Drink, 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 drink. Whoa, I can move like Flash. Speed across the battlefield, hacking and slashing and avoiding those opportunity attacks. Or is it attacks of opportunity? I can't remember which one. But anyway, yeah, I like this idea. Now, Rickard says, he goes on to say, then you're not an alchemist. Then you're a special agent. Yeah, you're absolutely right, dude. Though, given how alchemist is, you would more be the alchemist guinea pig rather than the alchemist itself. Yeah. Hey, drink this. Why? Just drink it down. We want to see what happens. Duh, okay. Look. I don't see anything that happened to me. Everyone's like laughing at you as you grow donkey ears and your skin turns purple and your body limbs start separating as if you're soft flowing oil floating in water or something. Some kind of craziness like that. Yeah. The blind lurker says, hearing the name Canoe makes me happy to know the Great Space Coaster is still moving. The Great Space Coaster, get on board. It's the Great Space Coaster. Get on board, step inside. We're going on a magic ride. Come on, guys, everybody. We're going to the other side. We're only rainbows high. Seriously? Anyway, Gnu says, don't forget about Obliex. Little kid fell in a cauldron of magic potion and became super strong forever. There was, for those of you who are not old enough to know this, and I don't know, grognard, Disney used to run these very short comedic stories. Kurt Russell starred in them, and one was, I think it was called The Human Computer, and the other one was about college students that made a concoction that made you super strong, but only temporarily. And it like somehow they accidentally made this formula that spilled into the cereal. So they thought the cereal made you stronger because they couldn't replicate the material. There was another one where they made an invisibility spray with a little push spray thing. So if you guys have Disney Plus, check those out. I don't have Disney Plus, but I know that they're on there. I forget what the name of the stories were, but they all starred Kurt Russell for some reason when he was very young. I hope I don't get dinged for singing that song. Yeah, the bucket over a cracked door with an electrical wire across the bottom. Yeah, Dead Man. Yeah. Now we didn't even bring up the idea of alchemical things being altered. Like, well, Red Dice kind of hinted at. I'll throw the potion inside of the ooze and see what happens, right? What happens when you apply fire or electricity or extreme cold or heck, that acid arrow you've been holding back? Like, what happens when it affects that? There's a lot of one-offs I think you could do. The computer wore tennis shoes. Thank you so much, Blind Lurker. The computer wore tennis shoes. That's the name of it. Yes. Oh man. Yeah, the computer wore tennis shoes, and I don't remember the invisibility one, and I don't remember the super strong one. There were some others in there as well where it all dealt with like funky science. It was all crazy fantastical pseudoscience back in the 70s, but yeah. Yeah. Ricker says, or if you do get a buff for the drink, the alchemist goes, I can't believe that worked. He talked about being the guinea pig, which in many ways, I could see an alchemist. Yes, I know the Unearthed Arcana does have an alchemist class, but I could see an alchemist class, as we mentioned off camera yesterday, filling the role that a bard kind of fills, meaning the character class has a little bit of other things, meaning some concoctions allow them to sneak around, others help them buff the party. Hey, this concoction makes me tougher or faster, or I have a concoction that can affect the field of battle by creating a wall of fire or ice or toxic smoke, or hey, I'm going to throw this concoction that summons insects from every corner of the wilderness that happens to adhere to the person, like throwing honey on the troll or something, right? Like I could see something like that as well. And listen, in real life, we do have real chemical concoctions of many types, by mixing and shifting, and what is. I remember as a child making ice cream by throwing rock salt onto ice cubes and turning the handle, grinding the handle, while the cream on the inside became colder because the salt was affected by the ice as it dissolved, making it colder as you turn the crank. There's a lot of things. Tesla says he's getting a huge amount of buffering in all 3 streams. And yeah, I'm hitting the red. All right, guys. I want to thank everyone for joining me. We're going to get out of here. But anyway, thank you very much. Please stop by for World Building Wednesday. I think you're going to really enjoy it. We're going to have some fun with it as well. Creating a world where alchemy controls everything. You're building a world around alchemy, including all the character classes, some monsters, some adversaries, and some story ideas. So guys, everyone have a great one. If you want to stop by in the Discord, please do. I'll be there till about 7:30ish or so, or well, the next 20 minutes or so. So guys, I'll see you there. Everyone have a great one. See you later. Bye. And we do the awkwardness as I grab the video over and the salute.